This is the 21.5 Show.
You're on 121.5, the emergency frequency.
Whether you're a professional pilot or want to be one, you're in the right place.
Let's get started.
Join professional aviators Dylan and Max as they talk their experience in the airlines, business aviation, and more.
Life is good.
Industry experts, unique stories, and plenty of fun. This is the 21.5 Show.
Here we go.
Episode 142 of the Professional Pilot Show that we call 21.5. Hello, Max.
Yeah, baby. We're back.
We're back, but I would say I'm at 80%. Maybe where are you? 85?
Yeah, slowly increasing. I'm a little nasally still, a little congested, a little something going around.
For a
It's all
pod,
good.
we're in trouble for a podcast. I've got a hoarse voice because I coach youth baseball and I was yelling at children all weekend, or encouraging children all weekend.
Yeah, no, you were in full dad mode, dude. You got your jersey on, your true golf shoes, just yelling at kids.
Clipboard, marking positions. Hold up, tag him out. Yeah, you're nasally, so this is going to be a great show. Welcome.
Fire on all cylinders, baby.
Yeah, the good news is we're recording this at our prime. You know, I've been tracking this metric, Max. Our best shows are the ones we record from about the hours of like 11 to 1. I feel like that's when we're just in our peak.
Yeah, well,
AM.
are you a morning phenotype, would you say?
Not by choice, but just by lifestyle. Yeah. I've always worked jobs where I have to be up really early.
But if you were just like a single dude, it was just
I like nights better. Like
you would stay up late and sleep. You could sleep in.
Yeah, I used to be able to sleep in, but yeah.
Like how late?
I can, if I'm on the road and the right thing, like I can sleep till like 8.
Oh, that's not that late.
It's not that late, but like I can go. Let me put it this way: if I'm woken at 6, I can fall back into a very deep sleep for a couple hours, which people in your family are incapable of doing.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah, you guys don't do that here. All right. Well, welcome to the show. My name is Dylan. I am a professional pilot in the arena of business aviation, currently on a Challenger 350 aircraft, which I think is just a spectacular airplane, Max.
Although inferior to the G280, but that's another show. My name is Max. I'm a pilot in the airline business as well as business aviation and general aviation. Single engine, please.
Max, I'd like to start by giving you a hat tip, you and your friends and colleagues at Southwest Airlines. I have...
what have we done now?
I do not typically fly Southwest, but due to some circumstances, we had a few legs on Southwest this week. And one, they're doing all these insane promotions. I discovered after flying like 4 legs this year, I'm somehow A-list and almost A-list preferred. So they're doing
sucking you back in, baby.
They're doing a bunch of shenanigans there. They did a whole other thing where they're like, you can get a free companion pass if you can complete 2 legs prior to like a couple days ago, which I did. So now I got a companion pass. But anyways, did a flight from the home base Dallas Love back to Phoenix, and the captain's out there doing all these PAs, keeping everybody updated. And the best part was I boarded the flight. I think I was in the A group maybe. And then when the C group came on, the flight attendant's like, all right, guys, keep going. They're all middle seats. And then he pulled his phone out and played Stuck in the Middle with You over the speaker. And it was like, jokers to my left, or whichever the words are, something to my right. Here I am stuck in. It was so funny. And I was like, oh, it's good to be back. And then we took off. And they were trying to get the captain's this whole thing about how he wanted to eat fish and chips in Long Beach, but the place closed. So they're definitely going to be on time. And then we land and they just absolutely in Phoenix on the, the southernmost runway, which is 26 left. Is that
25 left?
25 left.
Wait, southernmost. Yeah, 25 left.
And just absolutely hammers on the brakes so they can get an early taxiway off. And I was like, that's good to be back to the Southwest way.
I just love that. I just love, you just grease an awesome landing, just apply some normal braking pressure. All right, I had the aircraft.
Yeah, and then you just absolutely ripped it, and it was just flying into the gate area, and it was just like,
hey, that's what we do, baby. Listen, Dylan, you complain when we're late. Now you complain when we're.
I don't complain. I was just saying, I just missed it. I'm now a platinum on American, and
wait till we just rip a low altitude sidestep.
Oh, we're gonna get to that in the emails, actually. So, anyways, so hat tip to our buddies at SWA. You guys are doing a good job, and yeah, keep it up. Shifting gears from the airline world, though, let's talk about some VFR pop-up clearances, IFR action that you've been up to lately.
Things got a little nasty down in San Diego. All right, so it's this whole thing. So my wife,
it's always
had
a
this
whole
opportunity.
thing. Everybody knows it's always a whole thing with you.
Well, it's yeah. We had this opportunity to go to San Diego for this really cool thing, and my wife had a meeting in Prescott already scheduled that it was like really important for her job, and then we had to be at this dinner that night in San Diego and looking at the airline, stuff, and we weren't even like going to pay. She wasn't non-rev, like other people were paying for our tickets, the whole thing.
Yeah,
but there was physically no way, even if we flew to Prescott and flew back to Phoenix, like there was no way we could have made it, and so. We ended up having to take our plane. And so we flew to Prescott, whatever, hung out, had lunch with some of our buddies up there. And then we blasted off for San Diego. And I was like watching, she's like running late. And I'm like, weather's supposed to be good. And then I keep watching, it's like broken it, or is like scattered at whatever. Then all of a sudden it goes to broken at 3,000. Then it's like overcast at 2,005. And it just keeps coming down and down and down. And it wasn't going to get like socked in, but I mean, single engine airplane, you're kind of like, oh, this isn't going to work out well. So I'm like, well, whatever, we'll blast off and figure it out when we get closer and see what it looks like. And you can just see,
right.
At a certain point, you draw a line. It was just overcast and low enough. I'm like, well, I built this thing to do this. I've just never done it. Like, never had the occasion where I needed to pick up an IFR clearance and fly an approach. And it's been a minute since I've done that by myself in a single engine airplane. It was really weird. It's like kind of like work flying overlapping with your personal flying.
Yeah, right.
They usually are very far apart, and then this is like the first time it's overlapped, and it was cool. I mean, I picked up a clearance, got vectors to final for the approach, and broke out in the circling approach in this brown field, and then it's like, all right, that wasn't too bad. I'm like, that was actually really new airplane with a flight director and good avionics and autopilot, and it's pretty much like work. Like, I was literally like heading select, arm the approach, but it was pretty easy. But anyway, it was just weird doing that. And then of course the day we leave, it's raining and like still low overcast, and I'm like, oh, I guess we're gonna do this again. So we blast off in the rain. I mean, it was like stable air mass, it's warm, there's no icing, and whatever. So, and we climbed through all that, popped out on top. So it was just kind of cool. I'm like, oh, I guess turn on the pitot heat, just as a precaution.
Why not? It can be done. Did you have Mackenzie running any checklists in the right seat? Was she
no? I just said, listen,
to do the tease?
No, I had to tell her to quiet down a little bit. Okay. I had to focus on what's going on
was
here.
She outside to see the runway environment or anything for you?
No, there was no call outs being made. No, there was nothing. There was no help at all. She was taking videos with her iPhone, which I can send you if you want.
Yeah, we'll post a couple of
It's awesome, though. You can see on one of the videos, she was kind of freaked out because she's never flown in the clouds in our plane, or like really in any airplane where you can see out the front. It's a little right. He's used to having this 300, big view, and then all of a sudden, poof, it's gone. And so you can see in the video, she's like death gripping this little. There's like the kind of the oh shit handle on the side of the plane,
right.
That's bolted to the airframe, and she's like holding that, like gripping it while she's taking.
Here we go.
She was a little unsettled. It's all good though.
I remember we did that one time into Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Just like the thick, like you go into minimums, and I was flying with another guy, and the owner of the airplane, who was also a pilot, was sitting sort of you can twist this beach jet chair around into a jump seat. And he has like flown the plane a bunch, and he was getting so nervous, just like sitting there and just like, I can't believe you guys keep going down. Cause he knew like how high we were above the ground and stuff. Like, I think most people, even if they were looking out the window, wouldn't know some of that, to where to look for some of that kind of stuff. But it's funny what we take for granted can be very unnerving for somebody, of just like,
totally. She's like, is this okay? Are we allowed to do this? Is this legal? I'm like, yeah.
Did she inspect your instrument rating? Yeah.
Yeah, she maybe get everything out. No. Oh,
Uh,
the thing about when you have your own small airplane is that usually you're just flying around, just like you're like literally looking
Yeah.
for an excuse to go fly, right?
Right.
So it's kind
Mhm.
of fun when you actually have like a mission. You're like, okay, we
Right.
have to get here, and we have to be here by a certain time. Like, oh, the weather's closing in. We're gonna have to fly and approach. It's okay. I checked the
Mhm.
freezing level, but whatever. But
Yeah.
it's just kind of fun to like actually have like a bona
mission.
fide
Yeah.
purpose. Like this asset is actually making something happen that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
That's it. It's that you just put that in the credit column, and it offsets all the debits. And there it is. You've broken even on your
it's just
airplane.
fun. It's just fun to have like an actual mission. So whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, it was cool.
nobody cares about my single engine approaches and doing.
Well, last thing, what's it like to fly an instrument approach at 81 knots?
Oh, it was
That's
like
gotta
90,
be
bro. Calm down.
Okay, you're just sitting there, just going. All right.
I tell you what, climbing out in San Diego in the rain and the clouds, the cylinder head temps do stay very manageable. That is my favorite part of the whole thing.
Right.
I just stand it on its tail and go. It was really fun because that's usually my biggest like limiting factor,
Right. It's cool. San Diego is the best for IFR. You just get that warm air mat. Yeah.
Flows, stable, whatever. There's no convection.
Yeah. Stable air mass. That's a good nickname.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should have how did one of our buddies at Embry Riddle not have the nickname Stable Air Mass?
It sounds like another one of your band names.
Yeah, it would be a good band name. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? We're Stable Air Mass. Thanks for coming out.
Playing at the Davis Love, what was it, the DLC Davis Love Auditorium?
Is it Love?
Davis Learning Center. Davis Learning Center Auditorium. Come see Stable Air Mass.
That's the best.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to get to. I'm looking at some of the things you've written down. I love this new thing where you've got this note that as you're out on these trips, you write down some things. I put down a couple things. So I'm just going to ask you.
So much stuff.
I know. I was just going to start asking you a couple of these things. And
rapid fire.
Rapid fire. You wrote down the words random hat guy. So I'm excited to hear what that's all about.
This is funny. So, I'm sure most people know, but as crew members, we go through crew member KCM, right?
Yeah.
Known crew member, where you scan your thing and usually you get let through. But part of that thing is you get randomed, right? Randomly selected, and you have to go back through security like a normal person. And so this guy, I guess one of my buddies, I was in training last week at Southwest. So one of my buddies who we'll talk about that I met up with that happened to be in the same train class, and it was great. So he was telling me about a captain he flew with, and when we went through security and everything, and like day 2, they go up to go through security, and the TSA says, "Oh, you've been random, sir." And he goes, "Oh, hold on," and pulls this big trucker hat out of his bag that says "random" across the top. Dons his hat and marches off through security. So there's this airline pilot in full uniform with a random hat on. And so I guess the TSA people and the other crew members that saw him were dying laughing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And all the passengers are probably like, "What is this guy? What's wrong?"
Would we make one of those? We should make one.
We should. That's incredible.
That would be
Then, so I heard a story. We were walking to dinner or something like that. And he had an interesting, he had a great system. So, like a 2-day trip is worth like roughly 13, right?
Okay.
Depending on the value of the trip, minimum of 13. So he goes, "Yeah, I just keep in track in my phone, and every 13th time I get randomed, I just call in sick for a 2-day." I'm like, "Well, why do you do that?" He's like, it just changes my whole mindset about getting random, because I'm like, all right, one that much closer to some time off. So at 13, he goes, "Up, I'm done."
All right. That's perfect. Wow. So that's probably I'm trying to think. So 13 randoms. That's probably once a year, twice a year, maybe. Well,
Yeah,
I guess
I don't know. But it's random. Who knows?
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Right. Oh, that's hilarious.
I know.
That's like his own little duty rig he created.
Yeah. It just changes, because people usually get really pissed.
Yeah. Right.
Like, "Oh, this is ridiculous."
Yeah.
But
then they blame other cabin crew members, maybe for their
perhaps. I ruined it for everybody.
Another employee group gets thrown under the bus. We won't name any names. Okay. Wow. That is a great way to change your outlook.
Yeah,
What would
it's
be?
all
How
about.
could I?
I tell you, the secret to being an airline pilot, you just got to figure out ways to remain positive,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty awesome.
I gotta think about what would the equivalent of that be in business aviation that I could do.
What do you mean? You don't get random. You're always
I
random.
know. I know.
It's
No,
not
I know.
random.
That's what I'm saying. It's something.
It's a guarantee.
No. What is something that randomly happens that's
Like every time.
unfortunate?
No, I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
The equivalent would be every time you plan something on days you're supposed to have off, and then all of a sudden the schedule changes.
Oh,
That's the equivalent in business aviation.
that's a good call. Yeah. So every
What we always say, you want to fly one weekend, plan something with your family. Guaranteed.
Yeah, that's a good call. So then every 10th time, but then we have to think about that one a little bit more. Next thing you have written down is 24-hour B2 sim, which we've talked about before, I think.
Did we?
Did you get some
Okay,
more
maybe
information
this
on this?
is the same. My buddy who used to fly the B2 in the Air Force, yeah, and we were talking about the simulator or whatever, and somehow this came up again. But for people that haven't heard it, so when they were in training, they had to fly like it's the equivalent of a loft for us, but this is like in a bomber, and you're going on a mission somewhere to drop some bombs. But it was a 24-hour simulator session.
Yeah.
Continuous there's no, how we're like, oh, all right, it's break time. Let's get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But take a leak, whatever. These guys were in the sim for 24 hours, dude. They had to, like, there's a little
Functioning
honey bucket
lab,
in there,
yeah.
just like in the real thing. And they were in there for 20, aerial refuelings and the whole thing, but 24 hours. So anytime you think you're in for a long sim session, 24 hours.
The good news is I've heard the B2 cockpit is extremely roomy and comfortable.
Yeah, that's not the report I got. Yeah.
That is not what I heard either. Yeah, that's incredible.
Can you imagine that, dude? I haven't even heard that story before, and it still blows my mind.
It's still crazy to think about. All right, so I have a fun one. Max, we may have talked about this a long time ago, but for our newer listeners, I've got a fun little challenge for you. Next time you're
middle-aged listeners like us that can't remember shit.
That's right. When you come in, next time you are on a visual approach into the airport as the non-flying pilot. I like to do this with a new pilot that I've never flown with before. I just want you to say the following thing when you're on about a 3-mile final over the radio. Just transmit the words Woodchuck. Wow. And see what happens. Just see what happens. I'm going to leave that as a challenge. I will tell you in the next episode what happens. And I'm excited for some of our listeners to find out. You will not get in trouble. But I just want you to 3-mile final transmit the words Woodchuck. You don't have to say your call sign. You don't have to say anything else. Just say that and then let me know what happens. Fun little game I like to play.
Can't wait.
Anything else before we move on? We got a lot to get to. Chapter 10 of the book club, mailbag, flight advice. It's all happening here today, right before you leave on a big another international Europe trip. I'm excited to hear. Are you flying standby on this one?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're non-revenant, baby.
Oh boy,
it's not going to be that exciting. There's like over 100 seats. Everything will be fine. We're going to LAX. Because there's like 900 flights a day. There's literally United directly flying there. There's Virgin, United, American, British Airways. Like there's a million airlines. So we're good. Everything will be fine, Dylan. All right. Everything's going to be just fine. Remember I just talked about having a positive attitude.
That's right. You're turning into the airlines. Every 4th time you get bumped off a flight, Max, you should treat yourself to.
I'll talk to my wife about how that's going to.
All right. Chapter 10, book club. The first page is hilarious because we both started reading this and then you called me and I think we exactly had about the same ideas of the quotes that were coming out of the first page here. So would you like to read some of your favorite excerpts from this from the beginning of the chapter?
This might be my favorite chapter to date. Yeah. This is literally the first sentence of the chapter. As employees, pilots are a difficult lot. By convention and necessity, they are the masters of their vessels, answering to no one for as long as the engines are running. Airline presidents have the power to control entire fleets to decide where and when every plane shall fly. But once those decisions are made, no one tells the pilot how or even whether to fly.
Ooh.
From its origins, flying was touted as a libidinal experience for men, or at the very least, something that intensified their masculinity in the manner of sports and soldiering. A 1920s era ad from a flying school appeared under the headline, "The Aviator, the Superman of Now," to which it added, "Flying is the greatest sport of red-blooded virile manhood." The official history of the pilots union notes that men had always been drawn to piloting, in part for the looks they got from attractive young women.
Wow.
That's pretty funny. But
Yeah.
it's true. And the fact that, pilots are certainly in charge in a certain circumstance.
Yeah. And I would say pilots are used to getting their way.
But what's most true is, as employees, pilots are a difficult lot. I think
Yes.
I think as our friend Casey Murray told us in the last episode, it can be
a lot.
Challenging gig.
Yeah. And this chapter goes in great detail talking about just how much damage pilots can cause. This is focused mostly on United Airlines. And it starts off talking about Dick Ferris, who was the CEO of the company back then. It was actually kind of interesting. He was like a real go-getter and actually went and got his pilot's license while he was working for United.
Yeah.
He was flying Learjets. I think it said in the book he made a deal where he was able to fly some delivery flights from some 767.
No, it was like the first, some of the really early flights. Yeah. In the, it says Ferris made a side deal in which the head of Boeing agreed to schedule Ferris at the controls for one of the first test runs ever conducted for the new Boeing 767.
It's funny. He said one of the United pilots who taught him to fly said he listens, cooperates, thinks, responds quickly, and is basically an aggressive personality. It fits some pilots that I know. So pretty interesting, kind of learning a little bit about Ferris and his business acumen. And obviously by now you know that every CEO of these airlines has got to be a pretty special individual for a multitude of reasons. And so kind of what are your initial thoughts, Matt? Oh, one other thing I wanted to talk about in the beginning of this, Max, was he had negotiated one contract with the United pilots, which they called the Blue Skies Agreement. Apparently, back then the union contracts were blue books. And so I guess this was a very pro-management contract where they gave them a lot of flexibility. And so they called it the Blue Skies, but it did have a note here, and it said they did get a bunch of concessions, but they did go up in pay quite a bit. And it mentioned that a 747 captain in the early 80s would pull down $161,000 a year, about twice what most of Ferris's middle managers earned. And so you and I both had the exact same idea, which was to convert that into today's dollars. So what did you figure out?
Yeah, that's about $640,000. So United still clawing their way back from the deal they had in the early 80s, I guess.
No,
but
crazy.
It was pretty funny too. He said, this is what Ferris said to the pilots. He goes, "Some of your golf games are getting too good. I'll see you get 15 days off a month and that you are the best paid in the business. But the rest of the time, your heart and your body and your souls are mine." But he also, with that pay increase, he vowed to furlough no pilots. Like, I don't know, which then it goes on to talk. Yeah, I guess that he never threatened in this chapter to furlough, but a lot of pilots found themselves out of work.
Yeah.
And another thing that was funny in this, that I remember this quote, and I used this like in something in college. I remember I used this quote in somewhere for something. I can't remember what, but they're talking about seniority. And Dr. Ludwig Leder, the corporate physician at American Airlines in the 1970s, remarked, "The pilot's life is founded on three things: sex, seniority, and salary, in that order."
Did you present that at the Davis Learning Center auditorium?
Yeah. No, I used it in something, man, and I cannot remember what it was. But that when I read that, it instantly came back. There's a lot of things about this book I've forgotten since I read it, 25 years ago or whatever. But that is not one of them.
Yeah. All right. What were some standout takeaways from the chapter here, Max, as we continue along?
Well, it's kind of funny because when they're talking about this whole United thing and basically, Ferris can't compete with Crandall over at American because Crandall's got the B scale situation by American, which we talked about previously, right? So sometimes the decisions you make as one pilot group, it's interesting how directly they can affect another pilot group or really the whole thing, because what they said was United was pitching the same deal to their pilots because they're like, look, we can't compete with American without these B scalers. And finally, these guys grew some balls and stood up and said, look, if we do this, if we jump on this train, it's going to change it for everybody. And now the whole industry and everyone that follows, not to mention all your B scalers that we end up hiring behind you, are going to be looking for you to get out of the way, and they're talking about how in a speech that they were going to be, basically trying to get rid of the A scalers and said, look yourself in the mirror. What are you worth? And they stood up to that, and they had said, I guess the union had agreed to like a B scale thing for only like a very short period of time of which it would go away.
Yeah.
But nothing beyond that. And they went to strike, dude. And that was it. And the union was pretty crafty about some things. Like United was training scabs, right?
Yep.
But they had hired instructors that were furloughed Continental guys that had that very fresh wound. So they were like, like double agents kind of, essentially. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, they struck. The pilots walked off the job like they said they were. And Ferris's plan of hiring all these scabs and going to be able to run the airline at a reduced rate and then scale it back up to full and tell the pilots to pound sand didn't work out. Nobody showed up. None of the 570 scabs. I think they said 6 showed up.
Yeah.
And he was just dead in the water, dude. And what he ended up doing at the end of all of this was creating all this bad blood with the passengers, strengthening American in the process in their base and giving them, tons of passengers and revenue. And he ended up taking the deal that was on the table before any of this happened, of the limited B scale thing that went away, and basically screwed himself pretty
bad. It was
bad.
like the worst of both worlds of basically
exactly.
The worst possible outcome was like you bled the company out of money, plus you got bad blood, and you ended up with the contract that you were going to get. It's funny. I'm doing this, Lindsay and I are doing this parenting class, and it talks a lot about that too, where like some of the decisions you make as a parent, like if you like cave or do these other things, like it's just the worst possible move that you can make. And that was the same thing. And it went to show how painful a strike can be if executed properly, because the company just cannot function, and there's just no way. And American was right there ready to pounce and take over any market share they could.
Oh, which is ironic, dude. I would have been pissed if I was one of the pilots at United that was on strike, watching American profit from this whole situation on a notion they created.
Yeah.
That the pilots accepted. I would have been like, I would have been pissed at them too.
Yeah.
So luckily, you have to give it to those pilots at United at the time, because their decisions shaped the industry moving forward. Huge. For pilot pay. And huge. Like things may not be like they are today if it wasn't for those guys that, had the cojones to stand up and walk off the job and, be without pay for a couple weeks or whatever. So that's sometimes, I think it's important when we all just went through all these contract negotiations and strike authorization votes and all this stuff, like, you have to be ready to toe the line and to show your value sometimes. So,
and I think, the other thing you learn is that in that chapter, all the things that those pilots learned from the previous strikes, which they incorporated into the next contract and the next one. And like you said, everyone had renegotiated contracts recently, and a lot of the end arounds and creative ways that contracts can kind of be sidestepped. They've figured out ways to prevent it. But the only way you could do that is through, the blood, sweat, and tears of the previous generation. And I think that's one of the main reasons that we're reading this book, right? Is to understand all of the difficult things that people had to go through to get us to the situation we're in now.
Yeah. Which is hard to, keep at the forefront of your mind when things have been the way they've been for so long. But
yeah. Cause I mean, I would imagine you talk to probably any of the younger pilots. There's probably not many younger pilots who have a strike fund right now. You know what I mean? Like you probably haven't talked to folks that's really at the top of mind. And I think and that's not necessarily their fault. I mean, I think in their current environment, the odds of a major carrier being allowed to strike would be compared to back then, completely different. When you only have 3 or 4 major carriers versus
that's what's so
10 or
interesting
15.
is the economic impact
Yeah.
of one of the carriers striking now is so
There's
massive.
too many.
that-
There's so much politics involved. Like it's a completely different world. But yeah. So fascinating. Another fascinating chapter there on what happened.
Well, dude, we
there.
didn't even get to the part where they bought the
Yeah,
Asian
that
routes.
was what I was going to say.
Oh.
This is the next big takeaway again. It's like this is where I would really want to ask the author. I was a little confused. Like you're reading this whole thing about just how bad the strike was and how there was just these irreparable damage caused to United. And then the next paragraph, they're like, well, now let's go on and talk about how United goes and acquires all these companies. And you're like, wait a minute, as usual, where did
I
all this
thought they were
money
running
come
out of
from?
money.
You know,
Yeah,
I thought they were coming out of money, and then all of a sudden, everyone wants to finance all these other purchases.
it's another
Part of it
Goldman Sachs maneuver, which they
Yeah.
mentioned in there.
So this was crazy to me. I did not remember this. United owned Westin, Hilton, and Hertz at one time. Like,
I know. That's what's funny. You don't recognize, dude. And Pan Am owned what did it say? The Omni hotels or something like that.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So yeah, and
Isn't
they
the
have
only
this
airline that owns hotels now Allegiant?
great,
Don't they own
Virgin?
like some resorts?
Maybe.
There's no Virgin Airlines. Oh, I guess there's Virgin. Yeah,
Virgin. I don't
not
know.
America.
I don't know if they're. Yeah, I mean and their whole plan was, we're going to use our booking system, computer system, and it'll be seamless. They're like, you'll check in at the United ticket counter, and with one like carbon copy of your credit card, you'll be checked into your hotel, got checked into your rental car, and checked into your flight, and you won't have to talk to anyone else again. I'm like, well, there was no internet back then, so I don't know how that would be possible. We can't do that today. So I salute them for thinking they were going to do that 40 years ago.
Well, they had Apollo, bro.
Yeah,
They're big, text-based computer system. But
exactly.
But yeah. So anyway, so somehow United still had a bunch of money, and Pan Am was just bleeding, right? They had like literally just. So they finally decided to sell the family jewels, which are the routes to the Orient, as they said. So
yeah,
United bought them for $750 million. And what's interesting is, United still has a pretty big stronghold in Asia, and that could have been different too, because Bob Crandall at American was pissed when he found out that he hadn't had an opportunity to bid on it or anything. And the reason, do you remember the reason they didn't that didn't happen? I mean, one, they needed the cash like now, but yeah, they also had dealt with like some used airplanes from American in a deal with Crandall, and he was such a pain in the ass. They're like, we don't even want to deal with him. Like, we don't have the time. We're running out of money. We need the cash, and so they just took Ferris's deal. But dude, $750 million back then for some routes that Pan Am didn't even pay for.
Yeah,
like.
It was well, yeah, and they were like trying. I mean, that was like the first big route deal where they're like, "Is it even possible to sell routes?" Like they didn't even know. Like, and I'll tell you what, we've talked with James a bunch about signs if you should leave your airline. If your airline ever starts selling routes, I can't imagine. I can't. I don't think we read a single scenario in Hard Landing of a time where that was the magic thing that turned the airline around, and they started, like that's always like the last straw.
Yeah, I mean, that was truly the nail in the coffin, right? Yeah. Because that was, they're just doing whatever they can to keep their head above water.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, where did the $750 million come from to buy this? Who knows?
It was cash. It's just cash too.
Just cash that they just happened to have. They did also, one other thing they mentioned earlier on. They two things regarding the pension funds, which is kind of a harbinger for later on. Well, Pan Am had been robbing the pension funds to pay the bills, and then the flip side was United had a surplus in their pension fund, and they were worried that would make them a takeover target because they had so much extra cash. So that's why they bought Hertz, because they somehow can take the money out of a pension fund. I mean, it's just like, I'm glad pensions are gone.
I was just gonna say, it's a wonder these pensions don't exist.
Yeah, I mean, it's very painful for a lot of people, and I don't mean it like that, but I mean just like to have a company just be like, yeah, we'll hold on to this money for you and give it to you later. Like, come on.
Yeah, don't worry. Wink, wink. It'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be there.
In the meantime, we're gonna buy Hertz.
Yeah, We'll take care of this.
Because it's too much of a risk for us to keep this money in a
Yeah,
in
we
an
can't have
account
a lot
for
of
you.
this money. We needed to buy a rental car.
What kind of world do we live in?
I don't think any rental car company ever. I can't think of another business that doesn't make money. Airlines and rental cars is just like, yeah, it's crazy. So
I want to read one thing. So this is what I was
Yeah.
looking for before when this guy was giving a speech to a bunch of pilots about whether or not, about striking, right? With
Oh, yeah.
United. He goes, "This is a giant risk. Mr. Ferris has to take it. You understand. If there's any chance of success, you are the test case. There will never be another day like this. If United goes," and they're talking about the 2-tier, B scale. If United goes, TWA, Delta, Eastern, Northwest, Pan Am are gone. 2-tier or something equally as corrupt will be in, and that will be history. And you will have the misfortune to live through the transition, which will be horrendous. Mr. Ferris put them in the deregulation bucket, and it is his job to cure their problems if he can, and he is the spearhead by designation. And if they succeed, we will have pilots like the boy from Air Florida, and I mean boy, who did not know that ICE was and committed, or did not know what ICE was and committed suicide with a bunch of passengers in a takeoff that I wouldn't have had expected in a student to even attempt. What you must do is simply itself. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I worth what I'm being paid? Or have I, for 20 years, conned the American public into thinking that there were demands in this job that don't really exist?
Wow.
Yeah.
You should get
What
that.
about
You know,
somebody-
that fan blade that you've got in your house. We should get that engraved on
Get
there.
that engraved?
Yeah.
It's laser engraved?
Yeah, that's right. The words. Wow. Well, yeah, I think next time you see a United pilot, a senior United pilot especially, tell him thanks for
Dude,
holding the line.
I don't think there's any of those guys from the 80s.
Yeah, probably
I
not.
mean, think about it. That's like
Good point
45
now.
years ago.
Yeah. Strike that from the record.
Yeah. When you see a United pilot senior one, tell him to thank his grandfather.
Thank his dad. Yeah.
Thank his dad that was there.
All right. That is going to do it for chapter 10 of Hard Landing. Thanks for those that have stuck with us following along through the book club. I've enjoyed it, Max. It was a great idea of yours. We have just another quick 9
I enjoyed
chapters
every
to
time
go.
I enjoyed every time we
Scrambling.
have to scramble and read it before we record this podcast.
I every time I think of you going on the air, it's just one chapter every 2 weeks. It's easy.
What? How bad? Come on. Don't be.
How bad could it be? And every time we're like, "Oh, are you
It's
done
fine.
yet?"
I've literally read 2 other books since the last chapter, so it's not that big of a deal. It's just
it's good.
never remember to do it with any foresight. But then I wouldn't remember, what we're going to talk about. So it's good. It's all good.
Okay. On to the reviews. Lots more to get to today. 2 great reviews. I'm so excited. I want you to read the first one because it's just so great.
Ooh. Stand by. I just need to, get the Google Doc you so lovingly prepared for us up here.
Well, you were busy reading a chapter, so there's no...
Yeah, anything else you want to talk about in the meantime? I was packing, bro. I'm trying to figure out again how to pack for Europe in a roller.
Yeah, so speaking of reviews, if you write us a review, we'll happily send you some stickers for your trouble. You do need to shoot us an email, info@215podcast.com, with your mailing address for us to shoot those stickers to you, however. With that in mind, I did want to let you know that I have been on the road recently with our new prototype Fake It Till You Make It stickers, and I've been leaving them in random crew rooms of FBOs. So I dropped some in Teterboro at the Meridian location recently, or former Meridian, and then in the Business Jet Center in Dallas Love. I dropped a bunch yesterday.
Please.
So if you're around that area, go up there and take a look. Maybe you'll find some stickers, or if you just want to guarantee yourself some stickers, write us a review. And now, Max, I have stalled long enough. What is the
All
first
right, I got it. Yep. My kids need stickers. Also, this podcast still slaps. The cornerstone of education for the professional pilot. If I could sit around a fire drinking whiskey and talking aviation with Dylan, Max, Nick, Tim, and James while reading snippets of Hard Landings and calling Ted on speakerphone, I feel I'd have all the tools needed to stumble through and maybe even thrive in this career. Rare is a show that is professional and informative enough to host Legacy Czech Airmen and then hilarious to immediately follow up with publicly roasting the entire concept. And those were just the second and third episodes. Thanks for all you do, guys, and thanks for not taking yourselves or this job too seriously. I will continue to point every pilot I know your way. Keep it up. #fake it till you make it. Your famous quote by ShayMC 46.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Shay. Appreciate that. Send us an email with your mailing address, Shay. Great. Second review says, great show. Sky Gods is a great listen. Hey, guys, love the show and helps me get through the days of training, and I get plenty of laughs as well. I heard y'all mention Sky Gods in the last episode, and I would highly recommend listening to that book instead of reading. Narrator is probably the best nonfiction I've heard. If you want to dive more in detail about the early Pan Am history, Robert Gant has another good book called China Clipper. Roll Tide, and that's from JD RTR. Did you read China Clipper?
I don't know. I think so. I have to look in my, I don't know. I have 2 Kindle accounts. It's a long thing, but I don't know.
Look in your study along your leather-bound book collection.
Yes, let me go into the library.
Yeah, I'll be right back. Let me put my smoking jacket on, and I'll be right back. Okay, those are the reviews. If you want to leave us a review, you know where to go. Apple Podcasts is best, but there are other options as well. Do it. Shoot us a email, and we'll take care of you. All right, Max, the mailbag. Exciting content today. You know that the mailbag is brought to you by our friends at Advanced Aircrew Academy. Simply visit aircrewacademy.com to check out all of the offerings. They have for professionals in business aviation, a complete training platform for your flight department, and a great blog to boot. I love checking out their posts. Latest one titled Worst Best Practices in Business Aviation. In the world of business aviation, best practices can often be anything but. Advanced Aircrew Academy's latest article explores how this paradox can sometimes lead to dangers, shortcuts, and missed opportunities for true operational excellence. Go read the entire article. I'm looking forward to diving in as well. I'll send it to you afterwards, Max, so you can review.
I'm reading it right now.
Are you?
So one of the things, one of their tips, I'll just, spoiler alert here, but it's talking about regular training certification and just worst practice, checking the boxes, which we talk about trying to get the best you can out of training versus just doing the minimum and getting out there so you can make happy hour.
Yep, exactly. So thanks to Advanced Aircrew Academy for their longtime sponsorship of the mailbag. Okay, first one.
All right.
Go. Why don't you read the first one?
Regarding Delta and the sidestep, at Frontier, we have a similar restriction. We can only sidestep if we are outside the final approach fix and we have time to brief the approach and have performance numbers. Even in the situation of 2-5 left, 2-5 right in Phoenix, where 2-5 right is longer, we still have to have ran the numbers and brief it. Sometimes, if there's a possibility of getting a sidestep, I'll run the numbers for both runways and do a quick mini brief to satisfy that requirement ahead of time in cruise. It's mostly just CYA. If something were to happen on the sidestep and management would point to our lack of compliance as the reason when it really wasn't the cause. We are always jealous of the Southwest boys who seem to take sidesteps at the last minute. Probably just my 2 cents, or just my 2 cents of probably what the Delta guys were contemplating. That's a good point. And to be, fair, like going to Phoenix or say San Jose, or there's certain airports where the sidestep is a lot more common. The opportunity to do it is I always run the numbers for the other runway, and then on the brief, we'll brief the whole thing in the arrival and say, if sidesteps offered from 3-0 left in San Jose to 3-0 right, I'm good with it. We ran the numbers.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. So that way, when they say, hey, do you want 3-0 rights available? Do you want it? And then the guy looks at you and you're like, that way he just goes, yeah, we'll take it. And then you just do it. So
that's a good best practice. That's a best practice, a best practice.
Is that right? A double best practice,
right.
Huh?
Yeah. And I think the longer you fly, you sort of know the airports where it could be a possibility, like you're not going to get it in certain ones, but at certain spots, you're like, yeah.
Yeah. And it does save, it's a decent amount of time and sometimes gives you a longer runway. So why not?
Why not?
That's what I say.
Thank you for that. That email was from our buddy Nick. All right. Next email says, hey, Max and Dylan, was listening to your most recent podcast and thought you guys missed a huge option for one of the emails regarding the 31-year-old military captain who is debating whether to get the degree or go through an expedited course. You guys narrowed it down to those two options, get the degree or go through the accelerated program. One option I feel would be best suited would be starting with a degree producing program, but you don't necessarily need to finish the degree. Use it to pay for your ratings, but disenroll prior to graduation. This would give him more funding through the VA and negate having to attend the full 2 to 4 years. His email also mentioned Mercer College as an accelerated program. It is an accelerated program, but it is also degree producing. This allows them to pay for the degree entirely using the GI Bill, but it will also give you the option to get out if you don't want the full degree. Currently, it's the only program I know of that is operating this way. I have many colleagues that have used this and they rave about it. Hope this helps out. Aaron.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is genius.
Yeah, absolutely.
that is literally, dude, that's your quote. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. Fake it till you got your certs. And then
it's literally faking it till you make it.
Adios.
Yeah, I'm going to graduate.
Yeah.
Let me just knock these ratings out.
And probably if you do that, there's a point probably where you can online, like later on, finish the degree, right? You know.
Well, he already had a degree, though. That was the genius part. He didn't need the degree.
Right.
You just needed the flight training and had to figure out how to get it paid for.
Yes. That is really smart.
That is smart.
This is why we read the emails, because especially
this is good. I always thought this was such a waste of time till now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron, for proving me.
Yeah. It only took us 6 years. No, I think, and here's the thing. We should put a disclaimer. Like, we get a lot of emails from military pilots. Max, neither of us served in the military. We don't really know a lot about the programs that are out there. We've talked to some people in previous episodes. Landon Chebin especially has a lot of expertise. Go listen to that one. When it comes to GI Bill stuff and like all these other skill bridge and some of these things, like this is not our wheelhouse. So definitely take it with a grain of salt, and even better, send us emails like this to share some of these best practices. Because that's an awesome hack. I like that one.
Yeah, that's genius.
Okay.
How about this one? Was on my lunchtime walk yesterday when I listened to you guys read my lunchtime walk email about Marriott Lifetime Platinum status. Marriott Brilliant Amex, 25 points per year, not 15, as Dylan said.
Oh, 25 nights per year. He meant right.
Okay. Yeah, 25 nights per year. I was going to say, 25 points isn't going to do much. 25 nights per year, not 15, as Dylan said, and 185,000 bonus points if you spend $6,000 in the first few months. $650 per year. Combine that with Marriott's Visa, and you start the year with 40 of the 50 nights needed for Platinum, and we'll end up Titanium at 75 nights from Cliff.
Yeah, and he included a good article I'll try and put in the show notes as well for the Lifetime Platinum, which we've talked about in the past. Yeah, that's good. It used to be 15 and 15 for each card, and now 25 if you go to the top tier. So
that's a lot of nights, man.
It's a lot of nights. Here's my thing on this. One, you can buy top tier status with the Hilton credit card. You don't have to stay any nights. You just pay the high fee. And then Marriott, you're basically almost there. The problem is now, if everyone is a platinum, is anybody a platinum?
Yeah, that's true. You're devaluing it by making it easy.
It's completely devalued. And here is an interesting thing to think about. Hotel points, airline points, all these points are completely created out of thin air. Those points, they're a debt on the books of an airline. They have to devalue them every year. People that you meet that tell you they have millions of points are just doing themselves a disservice, because the buying power of 1 million Marriott points this year, next year, it's going to be less, and it's going to be less. And every single year they will be devalued. It is a guarantee. Really? Accumulating points is not a good strategy. They will be worth less next year and every year after that, because it's a massive liability on the books of all the companies that generate these points. And there are more and more people earning these points, and there's more and more people getting these statuses. And so just it's something to keep in mind. If things
are you going to drop
really
another earth-shattering quote right now that we've never heard before?
No, I don't know. What
use it or lose it?
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
Similar to your fake it, or maybe is that another sticker
exactly
that you're gonna
use them or lose
trademark?
It's true. I mean, but it is true. I mean, they're just constantly going to zero.
Now, what do you recommend about keeping money in a savings account, Dylan? Is that is this a similarly good strategy, or is that another use it or lose it
That is
scenario?
definitely a use it or lose it scenario. Yeah, a lot of similarities between Hilton points and the U.S. dollar right now, both created out of thin air. And
Wait, I have a question for you. Like, we have the Chase
yeah,
what's it called?
Sapphire
Sapphire
points,
Plat or whatever
right?
that card is. But
Yep.
and it costs like a bunch of money, but you
Mhm.
get it almost all back like very
Right.
easily if you actually use it for
Yep.
travel and stuff. Are these Hilton or Marriott points? If it's $650, do you get like 3 free nights or something that offsets that cost?
Yeah, there's still good benefits there. And the one thing there is the points actually are worth a monetary amount, not a arbitrary reward amount that a hotel just changes. So, and then depending on your thoughts of what the value of the U.S. dollar is every year, a Chase point is worth like 1.25 cents per point, and that's not changing. They don't devalue that. So that one is
Oh, it
less
doesn't? I was
right.
all upset now about all my Chase points I
No,
have.
those are still. But here's the thing: you transfer your Chase. Your one Chase point is equal to one Southwest point, right? Okay, we'll say,
Yeah.
or Hilton point,
Oh, I see.
whatever.
Okay.
But now instead of a room costing 50,000 Hilton points, it costs 55,000 points. So yes, it's the same, but it's just again the buying power goes down. So that's just. I'll get off my soapbox. I could go on for forever about this, but yeah.
Our friend Eric is just riveted
Oh
right
yeah,
now. He's
he's
on the edge
taking
of his
notes,
seat about
copious
you guys
notes.
and these credit
Right.
card
But it's the same.
scams.
I'll tell you the other one. I have the Platinum Amex. You get into the Centurion lounges at the airports. Now what happens? You go to every good Centurion lounge. Oh, there's a waiting time. Oh, we can't let anyone else in.
I know. They take all the exclusivity out.
Yeah. Oh, it's an hour wait. Well, it's like, well, yeah. Well, I have an hour connection. So what's the use of this? So the problem is if the doors are open for all these great statuses and perks, but if everybody's got it, then it's not a perk anymore. So, all right.
When's that Sapphire Lounge in Phoenix going to open? This is opening soon for
opening soon for a year and a half. It's unreal. But it'll be the same thing. Oh yeah, get on the wait list. It's like, come on.
But that the ones I've been to, like the one in LaGuardia, is awesome, and
yeah,
there was no way. That was the way.
Depends.
Like I walked in there, I'm like, this is how it should be. This is awesome. There's
but
no wait.
Were you flying at the times that everyone wants to fly? I'd imagine midday when people are connecting is going to be the busiest, right?
All right.
Yeah, anyways,
that's it. I'm worn out. You wore me out. We got to move on.
Thank you, Cliff. Appreciate you keeping us.
Thank you, Cliff, for opening up this can of.
What a can of worms. All right. Next email is from Ben. It says, "Hey guys, I've been a big fan of the show since you first interviewed my boss, Brooks, for his first Veris jet sales episode. I fly the Beach Jet. Yes, shout out.
Yeah. Wheels up, gear up, lights in, yacht amp on.
I was just going to say, wheels up, lights in, yacht amp on. And Challenger 300 at Veris, as well as the KC 135 and the Kansas Air National Guard. With the current state of the aviation industry, I've been especially thankful for both jobs. I believe the Guard is a well-kept secret that provides a significant financial supplement and many military benefits. I'm not a recruiter, but I would love to pay it forward what one KC-10 pilot provided me, a simple shedding of light and the fact you can fly military and civilian at the same time. If this is a topic you're interested in, please let me know." And that's from Ben. Ben, absolutely, yes. Like we said, we don't know. Neither of us have military experience. So anytime we can talk about this, it's great. Max, you and I have both been at the airlines where we have known plenty of pilots that have guard duty, and it is a really good deal, especially if you're at the airlines.
Yeah, I said those are great pilots to know.
Yeah.
Especially if they're senior and they can hold good trips.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of benefits of being able to like, oh, I'm junior. I'm on reserve. I'm going to go do some guard work, and grab trips.
Right.
It doesn't work as well in business aviation, like a 2-pilot, 1 airplane deal of the guard pilot. That's going to be a little bit more difficult, but huge benefits for folks.
I'd like to talk to Ben about this.
Yeah, Ben, we'll set something up with you. Let us know if we need to check in with your boss first. Okay, we got a really long email from Michael, and it's kind of a flight advice-y email, but I wanted to get to it, but it's so long that I put it into ChatGPT to summarize so that we would have the opportunity to cover it. But here is what ChatGPT thinks Michael's saying, and we'll see what you think. The sender is evaluating 3 career paths: fractional, regional, or low-cost carrier, with a preference for a company known for treating pilots well, being Houston-based, and offering good quality of life. Initially, they plan to stay at SkyWest until retirement, but are now considering FlexJet as a potential stepping stone to United, based on advice from friends. 54 years old with an unrestricted ATP and 1,500 hours, currently flying 100 hours a month as a CFI. Prefer passenger airlines over corporate and cargo, and hesitant to switch jobs frequently. New training contract to SkyWest has deterred them from committing to the company, and they are seeking advice on the next steps. Okay, so CFI wanted to go to SkyWest, but now thinking maybe a fractional is a better move. Ultimately wants to go to United. 54.
I mean, if your ultimate goal is to go to United, why would you switch?
Well, they're just CFIs now. I think that summary got it wrong.
ChatGPT has failed us?
Yeah, ChatGPT has failed us. So I don't think they're actually at the regional yet. They just thought they wanted to go to the regional, but now thinking maybe NetJets or FlexJet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see.
So fractional or regional. At 54, I think
here's the thing, though. The key to this that it left out too is that SkyWest is a United partner.
Exactly.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. I would say at 54, would you go that your next job? It's possible your next job, and you may not even have a choice, could be your last spot you end up at. It's possible.
That's certainly true, dude. Because this ebbs and flows.
Yeah,
and you're right. I mean, the music. We've seen things have already slowed down now. And there's a lot of unexpected things in this business.
So if you look at it through the lens of what's the best place to be the next 10 years out of the ones that you could potentially get, I would say off the top of my head, NetJets.
Yeah, well, he's talking FlexJet, but yeah, either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, or if it's one of those things like, do you just want to be an airline pilot? Like, is that your thing? Because SkyWest isn't certainly is not the worst job in the world.
No.
Well, I think
that training contract there right now that they're making people sign, which could go away.
Yeah.
We're just going to slow things down when you have a limited time.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, personally, I always advocate for having a little variety in your career. And while you don't have like a lot of time left in your career, certainly doing some business aviation flying. Again, if you're truly somebody that loves flying airplanes and you want to soak it all up, then it would be a no-brainer from that perspective. Go to FlexJet, fly business jet around to smaller airports, do all this fun stuff, and then go to the big airline. I'm very happy with the way it worked out for me doing all that. I love all the experience that I had. But if that's not you and you want to be an airline pilot and you're just looking as flying for FlexJet as a potential stepping stone, then maybe that's not the best move, because the other thing is that because you don't have as much time left, the amount of the rate at which you can build time is super important here. And I think you can say, even though
you can build
fractional, you fly pretty good.
Yeah, I think
you mean as much as a regional.
I think so. I mean, you could fly as much as you want at Flex, I think, or NetJets if you want. I think NetJets has a better contract than FlexJet. I think that's a better long-term, like if you were to run that for a 10-year deal. The other, I have a couple more observations. You will have more, if you do one of the fractionals, you're going to have more opportunities to fly past age 65.
That's a really good point too, actually.
Even if it's not for your, like, even if you worked for NetJets and they implemented a 65 rule and out, you're going to have a valuable type rating and experience in business aviation where you could go get that Part 91 or 135 job post.
That's a really good 65. Point. If you want to stretch that career a little bit longer because you're getting started late, that's a really good point.
Yeah, so I'd go fractional. Plus, that's not going to block you if United's your ultimate goal. That still leaves the door open there. And I think it gives you your best diversification. And
because you just have to remain flexible, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Put it this way. Things are probably not going to be as they are in the current snapshot, because things change. It could be better. It could be worse.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah. So good luck. That was a great email. That's from Michael.
Let us know how it turns out.
Yeah, let us know.
Don't forget.
We'll tell ChatGPT and okay. Big email. This big news here, Max. We got a couple answers to my dad's question about the 787. He was just here this weekend. He was still contemplating what it could be. Hi, guys. I enjoy your show. Just want to try and help diagnose the strange noises on the 787 flight that you're discussing in this episode. I worked at Boeing in Charleston, South Carolina, where they build the 787. This may or not be the answer. I was told the 787 is unique in that there are no hydraulic pumps bolted to the engines. They use electric generators on the engines, then use electric motors in the fuselage to drive hydraulic pumps and for cabin pressurization. I'm wondering if the strange sound was coming from an electro-hydraulic pump cycling on and off, attempting to maintain some amount of pressure. If you find out differently, don't shoot the messenger. It's quite likely that they tell people who are building the airplane different than what the pilots are taught. Either way, I hope this helps. Keep up the good work. And that's from Tom K.
Dude, so what's funny is I was at I came by your kid's baseball game the other day, and your dad's in town who wrote us that email, right?
Yep.
And I don't know how we started talking about that. And I said, you know what I thought it could be? I said, it was funny because I said very similar to what he wrote in on that email before he wrote it in. And you should ask your dad about it. Cause I was like, they have electrically driven hydraulic pumps, I think. And maybe one was starting to make noise and was, on its way out. And maybe that could be it. So
there you go. And then we got a text from our boy, Chuck Airman. He says, engines are out of sync. I want my swag and a hearty handshake.
It's funny. He sent that, and I was like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
I literally had no clue what he was talking about till just now.
Yeah. Could be right.
Idiot. Sorry, Chuck.
Could be right. Either of those could be. Will we ever know for sure? Who knows? Okay, that is going to do it for the mailbag. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you know what to do. Shoot us an email, info@215podcast.com. We'll be happy to read your email. And thanks to our friends at Advanced Aircrew Academy for making all of this possible. Flight advice is next, Max. Are you ready? It's a big one.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. I'm excited to read this. But first, of course, we need to recognize our friends at Harvey Watt, who make all of the flight advice possible by sponsoring the segment. Harvey Watt wants to remind you that they are the largest loss of medical provider for professional pilots out there. Listen, those guys at United striking back then, they didn't have any of this. But the unions were able to get it in the contracts later on, and most pilots at major airlines have lots of medical.
And now we're getting a lot of pilots at business aviation that are getting this into their compensation package.
That's right.
We've had people write in and say, hey.
That's right. On the back of our predecessors, another great benefit for professional pilots. Visit harveywatt.com to find out all the offerings that they can provide if you're in airlines or business aviation. All right. Here is the advice. Greeting, gents. I was hoping to get your thoughts on pursuing a career in aviation at the age of 40. First off, thank you for making this podcast. I stumbled upon it a year ago while on a cross-country drive and was hooked. I tried listening to some other less interesting aviation podcasts, won't mention names, but listening to them felt like sitting through an annual sexual assault awareness and sensitivity training. Your fun and humorous approach makes it feel like you're sitting at the bar with your buddies. Even my son likes hearing your podcasts while we are driving. All right, shout out to Rick's son. Here's my background. Retired as an air traffic controller from the Air Force back in March of this year. After 21 years, I settled down in the Dallas area to be closer to my son and hopefully start pilot training at one of the local 141 operations. Unfortunately, I ran into issues getting my Class 1 medical and have been fighting the FAA for the better part of a year. I just went through the painful and expensive process of getting physiological evaluations done due to a rough phase following a divorce back in 2020 and resubmitted my package last week. I now understand why pilots never get help for mental issues. I also attained my FAA dispatcher license earlier this year and have been applying for jobs as a dispatcher to get my foot in the aviation door while I wait on my medical. Another unfortunate side effect of getting a deferment for a Class 1 medical is I am unable to get a subsequent ATC medical clearance until these issues are resolved with the FAA overlords. The question I pose is, do you think it's worth pursuing a career as a pilot at my age? I know there are ups and downs in hiring, and it's hard to predict how things will B, by the time I get any type of ratings. I currently have 1 solid hour log thanks to a discovery flight I took 2 years ago, LOL. My goal is simply to get paid to aviate and have a decent work-life balance. I don't care if I'm flying for the airlines or regional legacy, flying mail in a caravan Monday through Friday, or a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. I just want to fulfill my childhood dream. My son is turning 9 this year, and I already spend a large part of his life away, either through deployment or my divorce, so I want to be present as much as possible when he's with me during the summer months. Starting at the bottom in my early 40s is not very appealing, but I know I have to pay my dues. I have my ATC dispatch certs to fall back on, and it would be a decent living, but when I look back at the end of my life, I don't want to regret not pursuing my dream to fly. Keep the episodes coming, and safe flight. See you from Rick.
Go for it, Rick. Next question.
Yeah, I mean, you read it, you're like,
No, that's the thing, man. You can't live your life with regret.
Yeah.
I think you're smart to keep your options open with dispatch and ATC and other things, but get it sorted out. And the thing you'll learn is aviation. It's so diverse. Like we said, the airlines are very similar, between them. But beyond, that's where the similarities end. I guess you could say the fractionals are also very similar. But then beyond that, like one charter operator to the next, one Part 91 job to the next, flying for the state Department of Transportation around, day trips in the state, to being an instructor, to do whatever. There's just a million different ways. And I think as a pilot, you can arguably set yourself up to have literally the worst quality of life or the best quality of life of any job. Like a Part 91 low utilization corporate pilot gig is probably the best quality of life you can have.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a lot of work. The pay is pretty good, especially now. And when you do go to work, it's pretty fun. So that's the best gig going, I think, from a quality of life standpoint.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a couple things I'm reading this as a retired air traffic controller. So I'm assuming that, so it's not like you've got to work while you're doing flight training. I'm just going to assume that.
Well, he's got a retirement from the Air Force, so
So I'm assuming like you can just focus on training. So it's not, it's not like if you can fly a few times a week and kind of get through the process, then it might not take too long to do it. I think get your certificates, get through all of that, and then you can kind of evaluate where you're at then. I love the way you're recognizing that your window of opportunity to spend time with your son is not very large here, especially as he's 9. You've only got a few more years left. So I'd say spend time with your son and work on your certificates in the next couple of years, and we'll see what the landscape's like when you're ready. I probably the most strategic move right now, honestly, is picking the right flight school that you can get into an instructor role after you complete your certificates, because you're probably going to need to get 1,500 hours, and that's probably going to be the best way to do it. And flight instructing allows you to be at home and usually somewhat have some control of your schedule, so you can still see your son in the summertime. And, that's going to probably consume the next 2 or 3 years. And
depending on how old your son is and
he's
whatever.
9.
But then,
so
okay, so you got some time.
Yeah, so I say some time. Enjoy that process. You still got a long time to fly, and what you should do and where you should go. That's a question for a few years from now.
Well, and then Rick, you have 2 things that are huge going for you. I've always said the best way to ruin your quality of life being a pilot is to chase money as your number one.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing. Well, so luckily you have a retirement from the military, so maybe that doesn't make that quite as motivating as a choice for you, because you have something to hedge your bet a little bit. But also, you live in Dallas. There's 2 huge airlines based there.
Yeah.
And there's a big business aviation community. I mean, there's a lot going on in Dallas. I mean, you could even be a sim instructor. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you could do in Dallas.
It's almost the best city in the entire country.
I almost don't think for having options, there's probably no better place.
Here's what this is other advice I've given to some folks that are kind of career 2.0 people. A great niche that is completely passed over is the single engine turboprop market, where you can specialize in a specific airplane or a niche turboprop airplane. like let's say the TBMs, like let's say you instruct and you start to get into TBMs and you just stick with it. You're not trying to climb the ladder. You're not seeking the biggest paycheck possible. You could be very happy specializing in an airplane like that, where there's a bunch of them in Dallas and you're doing trips where you're not going real far and you're flying for cool people. Like there's a lot of cool niches for people that aren't trying to make the maximum amount of money. So there's a lot of different opportunities for you.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, don't give up on your dream, man.
Yeah,
or you'll
definitely
I think, live to regret it the rest of your life.
pursue being a professional pilot. We both agree. I think the last piece of advice that we'd both say is that the biggest trap out there is debt in flight training, because then that can really get you in a position where you can have to make choices that you don't want to make. Where then you're like, oh, I have to go to, XYZ airline with terrible quality of life because I have huge, payment.
Well, but yeah, I mean, the reality is a lot of people are going to have no choice but to take on some debt, but just be very mindful of the amount of debt you're taking and, the efficiency and the method you're pursuing your ratings.
More debt you have, the less job options you're going to have and the less flexibility. And that's something to keep in mind.
That is not the key to air power.
Not the key to air power. Great. So cool. Enjoy your time with your son and maximize those next few years. And we're excited to hear how things go, Rick. Keep us posted. All right. Anything else for Rick, Max?
No, that's it.
Good. Okay. That's going to do it for flight advice. We have an anonymous form on the website you can go and fill out if you'd like to keep your details a secret. You can share as much or as little as you want. We'll do our best to help you out. Obviously, the more information, such as your age, familial status, location, that kind of stuff, the more you share of that, the more we can give better advice, hopefully. I think we're going to wrap up episode 142 here. We're going to say bon voyage to you. Good luck. Stand by to Europe.
I'm sure it'll be great content for the show.
This is going to be great content. Will you commit to making at least one selfie video?
No.
Okay.
I was not. No, and it's not.
You're not invited to the creators conference. You're not talking to your phone.
I know. I don't talk into my phone backwards enough.
Oh my! You sent me. We should have mentioned this earlier. You sent me this clip of this guy on Instagram that was like the week in the life of an airline pilot. And I'm
going to take the Porsche out for a drive.
He's got like a garage full of cars. And I honestly felt sorry for him. It was just like this showing this video. And it was just like, seemed like these pilots.
I just don't understand. I don't like, I feel like what we do here, like, yeah, it's public and whatever, but I feel like we're actually trying to like accomplish like a goal. Like we're trying to do something that like helps people or informs people or whatever. Like I feel like there's actual like purpose. Maybe I'm wrong and it's just a complete waste of time, but whatever. But like what is the goal if you're an aviation influencer? Like what are you trying to do? Is it do you think that the motivation is monetizing like the job of being a pilot? Like, was that why you're taking videos of your iPad and the route and the weather and where you're going and what time you're getting up and
when you're getting Fort Lauderdale, we're gonna have to dodge and
like I get there's like some people that care, like that don't fly airplanes, that like it's an interesting career, it always has been, and whatever. But like, what's the motivation? Like at the end of the day, is it money or is it like fame? Like what is it?
Your why, that's the great. Is it just the dopamine hit from opening your app to see how many people have?
Yeah, is that what it is? Like having a bunch of like friends you're never going to meet, or like I just don't. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or good or bad, but like for me, I can't even bring myself to do what you and like Kalisa. I try, you see, I put in effort, but it's just hard to like. It's just cringy. Like I can't.
It's gotta be funny. There's gotta be something like that's the only time I think about it is when it's like something weird or funny. That's like,
but even then, dude, like how do you like walk down a jet bridge and like have your phone up pointing? Oh, here we are. Like,
no, I can't do that.
Like, how does that happen? Like,
no,
how can you do that and then like post that on the internet?
But I would say the converse to that, I think there's a lot of people that are online that are building connections. and maybe they're not as fortunate as other people to have families or personal connections in their life, and this is a different way for them to do that. So I think there are it's hard to know everybody's motivations. Some of them, though, yeah, you watch them and you're just like,
well, I just feel like, dude, it's a lot of work to one, create that content. Like you're already going to work, I get it, but like to sit there and talk into your phone and then you have to edit this like video, right? All these pieces that you took, and then you have to like, post it, right? And then you have to like respond to comments or like what, like it just seems like an awful lot of effort for what? That's my question. It's like, what is it? Like, what is? Please write in somebody like when because I don't understand. Like, what is the motivation? Like, are people making like tens of $1,000s a month? Like,
that's
posting about their
the
trips?
problem is, I think, is we're so prominent in the space. People see how much money we're making. We're about to buy an MU2, and they're just jealous. And they say, they see if Max and Dylan are idiots, they barely have social media. If they can make millions of dollars a year podcasting,
yeah,
anybody can do it.
You know what? I'm gonna let you guys in a little secret of the discussion Dylan and I had before we started this episode. I was like, Dylan, I think we should buy this Xbox Series X on Costco because the sale ends today with our podcast money. Because Dylan, I have this grand experiment that Dylan and I are going to spearhead in our households. It's like, we have young kids, and then I'm going to use my youngest son is the only one that seems interested, and my wife. And we're going to buy Xboxes with Microsoft Flight Sim on it, and the yoke, throttles and rudder pedals, and we're going to see how far we can. I'm going to try and teach them to fly, like a regiment, like real deal thing. And then I'm going to take them up in my airplane and like say, okay, do what I showed you how to do in the flight sim, and like see
if it translates.
Yeah, see if it works.
And then,
so that is what our podcast riches are going towards, is buying video game systems so I can teach my family members how to fly, which is gonna you can see the flames and the crash and burn. It's gonna look like Roman Grosjean in driving for Haas into the wall at 180 miles an hour. That's basically what. But I talk myself into these things that it's a good idea. But
shout out to the 3 listeners that got that reference. That'll be great. Yeah, so we're going to actually put that as a mission statement down on our website. That's our why, is to use our riches to educate the next generation. And maybe we'll experiment.
That being said, if anybody is interested in sponsoring the show, please reach out at info@215podcast.com.
We would like to take a new sponsor on so we can also purchase some VR goggles so that we can have one of the kids. I want one of the kids to do it in VR and then one on a screen.
We can't do it on the Xbox though yet. That's the whole problem. We got to buy a whole new system. We'll get there.
Yeah. That's when we launch our interactive weekly video show.
Let's calm down. I think that's what I think we're just going to stop at the ground reference maneuvers.
Yeah,
that's where we don't need the VR.
Exactly.
I don't going to go that far.
All right. Well, that's good stuff. Thank you to everyone who does sponsor the show, so Max can get an Xbox S. Veris Jet Sales, the Aircomp Calculator, Harvey Watt, Advanced Aircrew Academy, and our boy Timothy P. Pope. It's been a good ride. We have no regrets. No selfie videos, no regrets.
I can't.
We will be back next week with another exciting episode.
The only selfie video I could take is one that would make fun of the people that take selfie
That's
videos.
what I'm saying. It's got to be.
Can I do that? Video. Would that be a meaningful contribution to the show?
I mean, yeah, if you can.
Just wait till I get paired up with one of these captains that is an influencer.
I mean, if you carried a GoPro around and had a video of you doing the essential oil samples, that would have been good content.
That's the problem. I think I need just a body camera, like a cop, because that way when stuff happens, it'll always
just a
be rolling.
Disclaimer on the release. First Officer Max will be videoing the entire flight.
Hey, nice to meet you here. Before you sign that release, would you mind signing my release of liability, indemnify me against
so when you hammer on the brakes so you can get fish and chips, we can get that.
So after he hammers on the brakes, I'll have to do a full torso turn towards the captain. What was that about? Talk into my chest, please.
Do you want to sidestep?
For the gram. We're doing it for the gram, bro.
Oh gosh.
I got to get out of this.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know. We'll see when we can record another episode here. When you get back from, how long are you going to be gone?
Not that long. Just like a week. In and out.
Is that counting the 7 missed flights in Heathrow coming back or no?
Dude, listen, I've got a strategy. Everything is fine.
Everything's fine. It involves
It's gonna be great.
Ryanair,
I listed everybody
Valencia,
for
Spain.
I listed
connecting in the
everybody to.
Azores.
I listed everybody for business class too, so it's just gonna be,
It's gonna be great.
these
My
kids.
favorite's when you get the business class grenade of like, well, there's 2 seats left, and I see there's 5
no,
of you.
Oh, no. I've already told the kids. I'm like, listen, there's a scenario here that's fairly likely where I will be sitting in business class and you will be in economy. Okay, that is one of the benefits of paying the mortgage.
So, is it a senior? Do you have a family seniority list for upgrades? You should should put a little policy and non-rev policy manual for your family.
It's a different job. It's a different job group. It's a whole. There's not a seniority list. It's a different. Yeah, they're a totally different category. They know it. They're parasites.
They're prepared.
Yeah. This is not symbiotic, kids.
Wow. So it goes Mackenzie, then Max, and then down the list.
I may be in economy with you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Many of us.
But
maybe you could do like a dynamic. I don't like these.
Dude, who am I kidding? Nobody's getting business class.
One person will. If it increases strife, it'll happen for one. You should do. You should do sort of not like a B scale, but I'm inspired by Hard Landing now. The priority list should go sort of like by grade point average, maybe, or something.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Yeah, write that down. That'd be really good.
Family seniority list. Listen, kids, I want you to understand how this works.
Let's see here. We'll pull the grades 2 days before the flight. The cutoff is got to be spelled out in the time.
I mean, it would be so much easier because, like, say we put the recycle can on the street, right? And I drive into the driveway. I know, coming from miles away, this is going to be a death match of who is going to get out of the car to bring. I did it last week. I did it the week before. No, you didn't. Wouldn't it be great to be like, oh, looks like you're the anchor this week, Pierce. You're the lowest on. You're the lowest on the seniority.
You just have a monthly bid for chores.
Yeah, we bid for chores. Just picking up dog poop this month.
I told you we were reading this parenting book right now. Maybe we write our own parenting book. It'd be unbelievable. Seniority for life.
Parenting by seniority.
That'd be unreal.
Well, listen, if your kids are going to be a pilot, at least you get them used to it early.
Oh, that's right. Like the top number one seniority, like lunch is packed for them for the week.
Sex, seniority, and money in that order. It'd be so much easier when you're little, though. Then it's just seniority and money.
That'd be unbelievable. Bidding. Wow, you could hold weekends off from chores. That'd be unreal.
Right before you, but the shitty part is it's right before you move out of the house.
Well, not if you study hard.
I finally made it to the top. It was only 6 months though, and I had to move on.
And the allowance is like a pension, which you've spent already.
You see that boat, kids? I had to use that pension money. I was too at risk.
There could have been a takeover.
But don't worry. I will fund it back. Yeah, there'll be a snapback.
Oh, that'd be great. And then the chores would be like at another location for the bottom person. They'd have to like commute to do the chore.
No, yeah, because I'm going to send the kids to your house to do the chores.
You got to commute. See, commuting sucks. I told you.
Yeah, I told you.
Oh,
this
man.
is something you need to understand at a very early age. Now go to your uncle's house and pick up his dog scrap.
All right. I think we got a new. This is it.
That's good.
Yeah. Parenting by seniority.
Solving the world's problems one at a time.
It's one at a time. Everything, vacation bids, everything could be solved by that. We need to write the bidding software. I think that's the biggest part. Be great. Faxing.
And then we could get a third party one that everyone pays for.
Yeah, right.
To help sort the lines on a vacation month.
Oh, did you hear about the Millers? They switched over to a PBS system. Everyone's rioting.
I can't believe their kids voted that in.
They went B scale on the newborn.
That newborn is screwed when he's in elementary school. He's getting half the allowance of the other kids.
That would be really good. Wow. Yeah, it's a contract. Everything can be handled by a contract. It'd be great. Bringing a third-party negotiator in.
Dude, the best part is we could take some of the allowance back for union dues.
Oh, yeah. Well, that'd be their union dues. See, you got to be careful because then they would unionize.
That's true. Then we're
If
going
they
to lose the
all
upper
see it
hand.
because they go, we're just all
Next
going to
thing
get
you
an
know,
F.
we're going to
Yeah.
be picking up the dog shit.
Exactly. We're not going to be doing any chores, and no one's doing homework. We're all getting an F, and then you're stuck. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
All right.
We're
Well, we
gonna
got
know how Ferris felt in the 80s.
Yeah, we got to workshop that one a little bit. That was the extra bonus parenting hard landing corner.
Okay, I hope. Okay, can you bring that up in the parenting class that you and my sister are going to?
Yeah. I'll be sure to. Yeah, it'd be great. Okay, that is going to do it for us. We'll be back when we can.
It's like death therapy from What About Bob? Seniority parenting. All right, I gotta go. This has been fun.
This has been fun. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
All right, bye.
The statements made in this show are our own opinions and do not reflect, nor were they under any direction from any of our employer.